What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of one of my model breakdowns here for the Houston Open this week. And if you guys have followed along here a couple of times, you may know some of this stuff, but always good to come in and see and who's rating at the top of my models and all that stuff. If not, if this is your first time here, this is where I break down every bit of information that you can find on my model that I post every single week for Osmo.com Plus members. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, okay, first, of course, the 60-second run-through, if this is your first time doing it. Always put the golfers here on my full model. As you see all the tabs across, you want the full model, all of the information. This is where you can find it, where they're ranked, all the above. So OWGR is what I start off with, model rank. The MYOM stands for Make Your Own Model, which we'll get to down here in this tab. The difference between the two, odds, DK salary, so on and so forth. Also ownership in here, the ratings of the model. Then, of course, we go across. We got some strokes gained. As you can see, NA means they didn't get stats for that year. Other statistical measures, same thing. Approach, proximity, same thing. Recent form, course history, and then file it off with some DraftKings points of the last 4 weeks. Looks like one of my formulas is off, so I'll fix that right after the show here. And sometimes, if you do see, if you're an Osmo.com Plus member and you do see a formula that looks like this, probably just means that one of my formulas is off and I just have to update it. And if I don't catch it, feel free to tell me about it, and I'll go in and fix it. So a lot of different, obviously, VLOOKUP formulas and so on and so forth. If you're familiar with Excel, if not, that might have been a little bit of Chinese to you. So we'll move on here. The strokes gain dashboard is where you can come and focus in on one player. Take a look at what he's doing at the course, what he's doing in terms of DraftKings points, the recent form, so on and so forth. So really good tool here. You should be able to get really any golfer that you want when you go and click up here in column A3. Be seeing that we haven't seen Henrik Stenson for quite some time, since the WGC. So kind of interesting there. And then we'll go to the Make Your Own Model. And the Make Your Own Model here, this is where you come in and let's just say you wanted to just focus on whatever Vegas feels is the best thing to do. Maybe throw in a little bit of other things, statistical measures and whatnot. Maybe a little bit of OWGR that's at 6%, 10% recent form. You'll be able to do that. You can change everything that's highlighted in red. Once you change what's in red, it'll automatically populate a new ranking, a new rating, and that will come up, of course, right on the column T. And then, of course, you'll be able to see it right here in the MYOM rank back on the full model page. So again, you're just going to change what's in these columns: the G, the I, the K, the E over there, so on and so forth. What's highlighted in red there, formulas are already all done for you. Then, of course, we have the individual tabs where I put the individual thing that I am rating or looking at to observe and analyze: OWGR, odds, strengths, stroke gains ranked by field, so on and so forth. And once I now go into each of these, that now creates my rating, which is, of course, on here if you want to see the actual numbers, which each one is getting attributed to. And then, of course, back on the full model where you can see it all in live time. So a couple of new things that I put in, or maybe some house cleaning duties that I put up here. Under the ownership projection model, I've updated the right-hand side where it lists all of the ownerships dating back to, quite some time. I think I go all the way back to at least the players, just because my formulas haven't been moved over. Plenty of data set there for you. You can see how the last 5, the maximum, which are basically the 2 barometers of which I'm using to use under my projections, which you can check out there. And then, if you'd like to see some leveraged ownership model, now this one I have not quite perfected, but what I'm looking here is I'm looking for guys that are low owned that my model likes. So Zach Blair would be one of them, Scott Harrington another, Cameron Davis another. How I am able to differentiate from Cameron Davis and Zach Blair and say, down to Austin Cook and Ryan Armour from these Michael Paredes, Rich Beam guys is because I know those guys don't play very often. So I know that they're not going to be owned at all. So in reality, their ranking isn't going to go down much because I, again, use just a rating system. And it doesn't take any rating away from them, whereas obviously in other people that are highly owned, say like Henrik Stenson, he's going to get, as you can see, rating in the projected points, it gets like, a roughly 43 points, which is why, he's moved down in this rating model. So again, it's not perfect. I don't use it that much to say, okay, I'm going to copy and paste this in a fantasy cruncher. What I'm doing here is, what I'm looking for is I'm just trying to see where my model likes players, like say Scott Stallings, for example, that are projected to be low owned. That's what I'm using this for. So a nice tool. Hopefully you find some use to it as well. And then the last thing is I break all of it into these 4 price sections. So if you want to just focus on the 7K and find, who's our lowest official World Golf rank in the 7K range, and we see 2 Euro Tour guys, Lucas Beauregard and Tom Lewis. We've seen some Euros obviously have some success in the past with Ian Poulter winning in 2018. So just a couple of other ways that you can find some plays, find some information, and I try and keep it all in one place. So hopefully you've taken something out of this. I'll be back just on the other side of this with an opening round 3 ball and talk about a couple of matchups going on tomorrow. And then lastly, I will be back tomorrow afternoon with my breakdown of my in-tournament model. Something very similar to this, but I'm going to talk about how I use it to make my lineups and what I focus on there. So I know a couple of people have asked me in the Osmo Slack chat. That is coming tomorrow afternoon. So until then, everybody, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the other side.